This year, experience the NHL playoffs your way. Want to watch a single? Do or die Game 7, a full week of heavy-hitting back-and-forth series. Then check out Sling's 1, 3, and 7-day passes. Watch the Chase for the Cup on ESPN and TNT, starting as low as $4.99. No long-term contracts or overpaying. Just live hockey at home or when you want it. Sling lets you do that. Visit sling.com to learn more.
Welcome in. It is another edition of the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm Alex Napoles, and we'd like to give a warm welcome back to our guy, Christian Esparza, who's sitting across from me this morning. Christian, how's it going, man?
It's going good.
Yeah?
I'm happy to be back, man.
How's the family?
Family's adjusting. It has been a crazy adjustment. For those that don't know, my wife and I welcomed our first child.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Love it.
Just over 3 weeks ago, so took a couple weeks off, and then this week got back into the fold, back into the business, and now I'm sitting here back in the chair.
Love it, man. Great to have you back.
Thank you.
Great to be talking sports with my guy Christian, and this is the best part of my Saturdays, and so great to have you back.
I will say I've been looking forward to coming back on the Saturday show.
Good, man.
I really have.
And there's been a lot. There's been a lot that's happened. There is a lot to talk about, and so we'll get to all the sports talk here. But first, Sean's sitting behind the glass, pushing the buttons today. Sean, how's it going, man?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Just riding a high from playoff hockey.
Oh, I know. We're going to start with playoff hockey, but before we dive into the playoff hockey, what a week it was here on the station. What a week it was for Utah sports. Just an absolutely phenomenal week for the station, for KSL, and for all the coverage across all the sports, right? You start with Monday with the Jazz winning the coin flip. They get the tiebreaker over the Kings, and so they come out with the fourth record, and now Jazz fans don't have to worry about conveying that pick.
I'm shocked.
I am, but I'm not.
I'm shocked. I thought Silver was going to walk up on the stage and say, like, psych, Jazz are losing their pick.
Yeah.
But I'm glad they're keeping it, I guess.
Yeah, and I think every Jazz fan out there is excited for it. You move on to Tuesday, where you have the Mammoth winning their first ever playoff game on the road in Vegas to tie up the series at 1-1 and bring it back to Delta Center at 1-1. Wednesday night, Real Salt Lake Inter Miami welcome in Lionel Messi in the one of the greatest of all times as far as soccer goes is in your backyard, and what an atmosphere it was. Messi mania was at an all-time high down there in Sandy, and then you move on to last night, and the Delta Center was absolutely rocking, man. You know it's a great environment when you can't hear the commentators on the TV broadcast because the crowd is just drowning them out. It was electric. It was absolutely fun to watch, and the Mammoth ended up winning 4-2 against the Golden Knights.
Yeah, I mean, several times. Shout out Matt McConnell, the TV voice of the Utah Mammoth, and a couple times, man, he said this is one of the loudest buildings he's ever been in. And comparably, like, the Delta Center right now, because the renos aren't done, only holds, just over 16,000 fans, which is, compared to some of the other NHL arenas, not as much.
Yeah.
So theoretically, this is just the beginning, right? And yeah, of course, with it being the first playoff game ever here in Salt Lake City, there's going to be some excitement. And Utah fans showed up, and not just to the game, but starting at 12, Ryan Smith doing the jersey exchange event. I think that was such an incredible idea. And, not only is it a cool thing to do, but it's a great way to get the brand's name out there, because you see some of these other social media accounts tweeting about it, like Bar Down and these, national hockey-focused social media accounts putting this out there. And, if some Flyers fan is scrolling through Instagram and they see this jersey exchange event, they're like, oh, that's pretty cool, and just getting that out there that the Utah Mammoth are being innovative and finding ways to engage with the community. So shout out to Ryan Smith. It looks like there were close to 1,000 Las Vegas Golden Knights fans that turned in their jerseys for a brand new, fresh Utah Mammoth jersey. And I think that's awesome, man. So that was at 12. Jake and Ben were on the plaza from 2 to 6.
Yeah.
And then leading
How,
right into
how
the
was
game.
the plaza? Was it
Oh,
popping?
dude, it was popping
Yeah.
from the get-go. I mean, there was a live band, apparently, that Jake and Ben didn't know were going to be there. They started right at 2, right next to Jake and Ben.
Nice.
And festivity, I mean, tons of listeners were stopping by. We had some people that won tickets on the way to the game. You know, we had a ticket giveaway. And this guy was just driving on his way to the game just to go hang out at the plaza, and he said he was hoping he didn't go down there with tickets. He was hoping that he'd win tickets to the game, and lucky
way.
for him, he was listening to Jake and Ben, and he won a pair of tickets.
That's awesome.
So yeah, he stopped by the booth to tell Jake and Ben, and then shout out to everybody on the broadcast crew, the SCG broadcast team. Dang near everybody stopped by. I mean, Mike Folta, Nick Olchek, Sarah Merrifield, Kim Becker, Matt McConnell, Adrian Denny, all those guys. They all stopped by and helped get you ready for the Mammoth playoff action. It was such a fun day yesterday, man, and that's what it's all about. Haven't had playoffs in the city since 2022. It's been 4 years, and I think you could definitely feel that vibe.
It was fun to watch. It was fun to watch. Everything going on in the plaza, everything that was going on social media with the jersey exchange, everything that was going on with Utah getting ready to host playoff hockey. First ever playoff hockey game here at Delta Center. And the Mammoth responded well. They didn't necessarily have the biggest game as far as the shots go. The thing that really sticks out to me is the fact that the Mammoth won this game with 12 shots against the Vegas Golden Knights 32 shots.
So, okay, that's my question is, do you think, like, at first your reaction is like, oh, man, that's cool. But then you take a second to think about it, and it's like, wait, you don't want to do that ever again.
No.
Right?
I don't think that's necessarily a recipe for success by any means, but I think the Mammoth were just really opportunistic in taking the chances that they did have. They capitalized. But then also on the other side, man, Karel Vejmelka.
Yeah.
Veggie. Standing on his head, making save after save after save. He had an absolutely phenomenal game, and then you got to give credit to Lawson Krause, of course, too, scoring 2 goals within a 5-6 minute span in that second period to make it 4-0, and what ultimately felt like a blowout up to that point, despite Utah being outshot by the Golden Knights.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal game, and there were a lot of questions about what the altitude would do to the Vegas Golden Knights because you saw, especially in the first game, and it got dialed back a little bit in the second game, both of those in Vegas, right? But it's clear that the MO for the Knights was to come out and just bully the heck out of this very young and inexperienced Utah Mammoth team, right? They wanted to kind of, establish their dominance as the vets that, won the cup just a couple of years ago, and they're these big, tough guys going against this team of kids.
Yeah.
And, that worked game 1. Game 2, the Mammoth found a way to kind of get around that. They realized that they are younger, they are faster, and they can use that to their advantage. So I was curious to see what it would look like here in Salt Lake City. How much can that Golden Knights team exert themselves when now they're playing at altitude? Not only are they having to play catch up with this much younger team, but they're playing at altitude, and they're playing in this raucous environment. And I think, a lot of people say that home ice advantage is not a real thing in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and maybe over, any regular series that's not. But I think you look at the first playoff game ever in Salt Lake City, I think there's going to be a little bit of an advantage. And that was pretty clear because, man, you brought it up earlier, but it was just so loud. Loud.
It was.
And you had everybody showing up. Larry Markkinen was there. Benson Boone was there. Ryan Smith, of course. And who knows what other,
Does Benson Boone live in Utah?
He has connections. I don't know if he lives in Utah, but I mean, yeah, he's been to several Mammoth games, right?
I feel like he's at Delta Center all the time.
So yeah, dude, it's such a fun game. And then you speak about the Mammoth being opportunistic, and how about Mackenzie Weegar, right? I think he had my favorite goal of the night.
His goal was so fun.
The puck kind of just pops loose, and there's Weegar sitting there kind of hanging back, and he recognizes that the puck is coming loose, and it's just sitting there rolling, and he kind of just scurries up to it and slaps it in right off the face mask of Carter Hart. What a goal,
It goes like off his face mask, and then it goes off the pad, and then somehow in between
his legs and in.
What a way to score. What a way to score for Mackenzie Weegar.
And then Dylan Gunther's goal, obviously. You
beautiful.
had Coach Tortorella talking about it in the post game for the Knights. Like, nobody's stopping that. Nobody's stopping that shots. And actually, funny enough, they're on the power play, and so many times on the power play, it's like, okay, get Dylan Guenther to his circle. And he takes that first shot, and I'm sitting there watching with my wife, and I'm like mansplaining to her. I'm like, oh, he missed that shot. That's his favorite place to shoot from, though. Like, he loves shooting it from there. And then they swing it around and get it back to him. Second one goes in. And you just, there's not much you can do. That's one of the prettiest shots in the league.
The pop too that you heard on that Dylan Guenther goal was again incredible. It's a great environment when you can't hear the commentators trying to call this goal that Dylan Guenther just scored. And I want to send it over to the head coach, the Bear, Andre Tourigny, where he talks about the crowd noise and how the Delta Center and the electricity inside that building even caused confusion for their own guys.
We had some confusion on the bench. Guys did not know who was up. For people who know me, I can be pretty loud. I did not go through. The crowd beat me, no doubt about it. So there's a few things we did as a staff to get better during the game to make sure there were less confusion, because if you look at the tape, there's 2-3 shit in the second period where there were a little bit of a confusion.
I know we're new to this whole hockey thing, but hearing that comment from Bear, hearing how loud it was on the broadcast, seeing how hyped up everybody that was in that building was last night, seeing how hyped up Jay Stevens was on that post-game reaction with Scotty G last night, man. You can't sit here and tell me that home barn advantage doesn't matter in the Stanley Cup playoffs, because clearly last night it did. And that's credit to everybody that was in that building last night. That's credit to everybody who made this such a big event and showed up for the occasion, man.
Yeah, and I think, two things with that. First off, I think it's a testament to all of the hockey fans that have been here in Utah and haven't had an NHL team to support in person, right? You've got so many fans that have probably traveled out of state and gone to NHL games, right? My neighbor, when I first moved in, I talked to him. He grew up in Colorado, and he was wearing Avalanche gear all the time. Over the last year, Alex, I haven't seen a single Avalanche hat on this dude. He's been wearing Utah Mammoth gear, right?
That's awesome.
I saw him mowing his lawn the other day, and he was wearing a Utah Mammoth like hoodie and hat. And I looked at him, I do the tuss up, and he's like, yeah, let's do it. Like, these people have been dying for a team to come here in Salt Lake City. And now they have a chance to go watch. And I just can't imagine what that feeling is like. Kind of feeling left out, not having a team to support. You kind of have to adopt another team. And that's why you saw so many Golden Knights fans at the jersey exchange, right? Because people probably saw the Knights go to Vegas and they're like, okay, that's pretty close to Salt Lake City. We're never going to get a team, so I'll be a Golden Knights fan. Well, just a few short years later, now we do have a team, so all those guys are becoming Utah Mammoth fans. And so now they have a team to go support, a team to go watch. And then on top of that, you've got, like I brought up earlier, this is a market that, because of the rebuild the Jazz have been in, whether you like it or not, we just haven't had playoffs in 4 years. And we know what playoff environments can be like in Salt Lake City. We've been to playoff Jazz games. We know the rich history of how fans support the local teams here. I think everybody else on the outside kind of has forgotten that because, the Jazz have not been winning lately, right? So people forget.
Yeah,
people forget.
They definitely have.
And then now you give them a taste of playoffs, and it's a different sport, sure, but we love our sports here in this beautiful state of Utah, and people show up, man. When you give people something to be excited about, when you give those fans something to cheer for, they're going to cheer loud and proud.
People definitely forget outside of the state of Utah, because I did see a lot of tweets and a lot of reaction online last night from people watching and tuning into the game, and I guess people saying how surprised they were about how quickly Salt Lake and how quickly the state of Utah has caught on to hockey and has embraced hockey. But I think everybody inside the state and inside the market, I don't think it comes as much as a surprise, because one of the first things Ryan said when he brought this team over 2 years ago was that, hey, Utah shows up.
Yeah.
And they've taken in hockey, and I think everybody's on board.
Well, what's funny too about yesterday is it was 2 years to the day.
Yeah.
Where the team flew in from Arizona and they kind of had the Welcome to Salt Lake City event. And that's when Liam O'Brien stood up on the stage and said, "You can call me Spicy Tuna." And the crowd, even from day one,
Yeah.
was just going crazy. And I was curious to see how the fans would show up because Ryan Smith and, Chris Armstrong and all these executives have kind of mentioned that there's not much crossover between Jazz fans and Mammoth fans, right? The people buying Mammoth season tickets are not the same people buying Jazz season tickets, so it's not the same fan base, but we're Utahns all the same. So in that sense, I'm not surprised that they showed up. But, I was a little curious to see, and, like we were expecting. It was loud, it was crazy. It definitely got in Vegas's head, and you played the Coach Tourney clip earlier. I think that's something that they're going to have to they're going to have to learn to live with, right?
Something to get used to.
Because we're loud,
Yeah.
Coach. We're loud.
Something to get used to for the Mammoth. Going back to that Dylan Gunther goal, you mentioned it was on the power play. It was great to see Utah capitalize on a power play opportunity with Dylan Gunther. But I think even more so importantly, Christian, how about going 4 for 4 on the penalty kill, man?
Oh, yeah. That was awesome. And you speak of the pop that you hear on the TV broadcast. Like every time when the Mammoth are on that PK, and you mentioned Veggie having some crazy saves. I mean, really.
29 saves last night.
On some of those penalty kills, he had some saves, and it's like, okay, clear the puck. And you see the PK timer counting down, and it's like, okay, 10, 5, 4. And then you hear the power up sound from Mario play, and then the crowd pops, and it's like, that PK was special last night.
It was dialed in, man.
And there have been times, it showed up in game 1 again, but one of their biggest problems in the regular season was taking penalties at really bad times and not really having discipline. But that's not really what you saw last night. Last night, you're going to take penalties. It's a very physical game. It's hockey. These two teams have been very physical with each other as far as battling back and forth and kind of getting in each other's faces and raising the tensions. You're going to have some penalties there, but I think they did a great job of keeping their head on straight and knowing kind of when to take a penalty and when not to. And then you see the PK playing at a tremendous effort, and you have the players. In my mind, I was thinking active sticks, right? Like anytime that the Vegas Knights were trying to push the puck forward or get it into the middle, you've got guys like Yamamoto, guys like even Nick Schmaltz was doing a great job of just kind of throwing his stick out there and deflecting the puck. And Vegas had some opportunities, and that's when Veggie shines, right? But really, that PK was making it hard for the Golden Knights to do anything.
I think they had 2 penalty situations. The Golden Knights did in that third period. And I think both of those times, maybe it's the cynical sports fan in me, but both of those times that they came out, I mean, at that time it's 4-1. You go to the penalty, you have the advantage on the ice, and I'm thinking the Mammoth have to hang on here, because if you just let them score 1, you give them that opportunity to even think about getting themselves back into the game. Things can turn on a head quickly. Yeah. We've seen it happen before for the Mammoth. We've seen them sometimes crumble a little bit as they hold some leads, and so I thought it was phenomenal for not only to get those penalty kills, but to be able to hold on in that third period, despite the Golden Knights scoring 1. I think there was maybe 3 minutes left in the period.
Yeah.
Nick Dowd gets another one. It ends up 4-2 though, and the Mammoth end up walking away, and now they hold a 2-1 lead in this series with a Game 4 at Delta Center coming up on Monday.
When that second goal went in, that's when you kind of lean forward and it's like, okay, what are you going to do, right? Because we've seen this team blow leads before late. That San Jose Sharks loss is going to live in infamy forever. The Hurricanes game as well, yes, this season.
Yeah.
This team has blown leads late in games. So, yeah, when Vegas kind of responded and finally got their second goal, they're only down 2 with 3 minutes left, and it's like, okay, are the Mammoth going to bend a little here? Are they going to break, or are they going to hold strong? And they did hold strong. I also do, just looking at the box score here, Kevin Stenlund, tremendous job on the face-off last night. He went 18 face-offs, and he won 13 of them.
Hey, there you
72% face-off win percentage. And that's what you need when you've got those opportunities, to fight for the puck and give your team possession. I mean, that's why a guy like Stenny gets brought in, right? Bear has mentioned he is like their face-off specialist, and then he does some special teams work as well. But I just think that's an interesting part of hockey, having these guys that have a role, and they do it so well, and that's going to give them a roster spot every single year.
Again, the Mammoth will take a 2-1 lead into Game 4 on Monday, and I think Christian is up to this point now. Obviously, the next game is the most important game, but this is even more taken to even a more level, because if you can go into Delta Center and walk out with a win, you'll lead the series heading 3-1 down to a Game 5 in Vegas, and that's huge. Whereas if you fall at home against the Golden Knights, you go back to Vegas at 2-2, and you're basically starting from scratch, and you'll be on the road in Vegas to do it again.
Similar to the Mammoth winning on, what was that, Tuesday, right? Tying up the series.
Yeah.
And that was so big to tie it up before you come back home, because you don't feel like your back is up against the wall. You feel like you can get out there and play with this environment and have fun and just be loose, right? Versus if you're down 2-0, you're kind of uptight and, you're not playing free. So on the flip side, yeah, if the Knights win on Monday, that gives them all the momentum going back to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And you mentioned their experience, and they've done it before. And, they have some of the best players in the world in like guys like Eichel and Mitch Marner, and their coach Torts has all this experience. He's won a cup, right? And that's when that starts to shine late in a series when it's tied up 2-2 or whatever. So great point, Alex. Obviously you want to win, but you got to realize how important and pivotal Monday's game specifically
I think
is.
everybody here in the state of Utah would feel 1,000 times better heading back down to Las Vegas with a 3-1 lead than to have it back to square one at tied up at 2-2. Essentially, you start from square one.
Yeah, and there's nothing, obviously a tied series is much better than being down, like, duh. But, I mean, man, that one game swing feels like such a massive difference.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is all the difference in the world. When you look at the way these two teams played and the style that the Mammoth are playing with right now, it's like that's what happens when you have such a young team. When you have this excitement and you're able to play with this juice and this energy, you need to capitalize on that.
So this is a call to all the Utah Mammoth fans, man. Show up again on Monday. Same type of environment, same type of intensity, same type of excitement. So then the Mammoth can head to Vegas with a 3-1 lead, and you can feel a lot better heading down to Vegas, trying to close out the series in a Game 5 scenario, rather than heading back at 2-2. And you're back a little bit up against the wall. It might be tied, but you're heading back on the road, and so you'll feel better heading there 3-1. Taking a look at some other stuff happening across the Stanley Cup playoffs. You do have the Canadiens and the Lightnings, who ended up going to overtime. Canadiens win that one 3-2 as the Canadiens lead the series at 2-1. The Ducks taking a win against the Oilers 7-4. It was 3-3 tied up in the third period, and then the Ducks kind of took over, end up winning that one 7-4. Anaheim leads the series 2-1. Later today, coming up at 1 o'clock, the Hurricanes and the Senators. The Senators on the verge of elimination. Carolina leads the series 3-0. The Stars and the Wild, man, that series has been fun. I've been watching and tuning into that one closely because it's been really fun to watch, and so they're coming up at 3:30 p.m. today. Dallas leads that one 2-1, and then you have the Penguins and the Flyers coming up at 6 o'clock tonight, and the Philadelphia leads at 3-0.
Going back to that Stars Wild series, I mean, that's why it was so pivotal, so important for the Mammoth to finish with the wild card one spot.
Oh, yeah.
Because you look at the Kings, right? They're down 3-0 against Colorado. And even if they were to somehow beat the Avalanche, they'd have to move on and play either the Stars or the Wild. Like, that top half of the bracket is so loaded. Mm-hmm. Whereas, I mean, if the Mammoth get past Vegas and say Anaheim beats Edmonton, that's a great matchup for the
I didn't
Mammoth.
think was possible heading into the
Anaheim beating Edmonton.
Yeah. I thought Edmonton would ultimately. And I mean, it's still early in the series, right? We just played Game 3. Game 4 is coming up later on Monday. But right now, Anaheim leads it, and if Anaheim is able to knock off the Oilers, I think a Ducks Mammoth matchup in the next round would be fantastic. But also, too, can't get too far ahead of yourself.
Yeah. Got to focus.
Mammoth got to take care of business.
This side of the bracket is much more favorable than that top half of the bracket, because it is absolutely brutal. But you're right. I mean, unfortunately for the Stars or the Wild, one of those teams is going to have to go home. And those are two very, very good playoff teams that, if they were in the position of, the Ottawa Senators. Like, that'd be a much closer series, I think.
Yeah.
So that's just the way this bracket shakes out, man. You got some really, really tough teams in the top of the West, and then the bottom of the West, kind of not the same.
There's been a lot of fun series, man. Another one that I've had fun watching and tuning into a little bit. How about the Bruins Sabres series?
Yeah, Sean.
Sean, how are the Bruins doing?
Come on, guys. Why you got to do this to me on air?
No, you know what though? I honestly have been fun watching that series.
No, it's great. It's been fun.
Go ahead.
The Bruins getting back home, they lose the first game. That's back to Christian's point about the Mammoth winning their first home game. Like, now the Bruins' backs are up against the wall completely. They have to win game 4 and get back to Buffalo even, because otherwise the environment in Buffalo is going to help them so much that the Bruins won't be able to get over that, I don't think.
Yeah, the Buffalo in the playoffs for the first time since 2011 or 2012, something crazy like that. And they won that first game of that series. That was on before the Mammoth game, and really intense game. Buffalo scored like 3 goals in the final couple minutes. That was a crazy game. But yeah, that series is insane, and that's where you kind of see just how quickly some of these games can flip and some of these series can flip. Because if Buffalo didn't have that crazy comeback and Boston's up 2-1, you're having a completely different conversation. Mm-hmm. But that 3-minute stretch of that first game completely changed the way that this series is going to play out. Unfortunately, that was game 1. So for Boston, they do have a lot of room left to make things up and kind of rein things back in, right? But you just got to be opportunistic, man, and not let the moment be too big. And fortunately, I think the Mammoth are doing a really good job right now of utilizing the excitement and playing with the juice without kind of relying on it.
Yeah.
And, it can get to a point where you let that excitement turn into almost like an anxiety. But I don't think the Mammoth are there. I think they're doing a really good job of riding that line, of taking advantage of all this kind of chaos in a way, but just, everybody here is just having so much fun watching this team because it's their second year here in Salt Lake City and they're up in a playoff series. Like, if you would have told us that 2.5 years ago that would happen.
Wild.
Crazy.
Wild.
Yeah, when the Knights won the cup. What was that, 3 years ago when the Knights won the cup? If you're like,
22?
In just a few years, this team is going to be down against Utah in a playoff series. Like, what? Crazy.
Love it. The Stanley Cup playoffs have been really, really fun to watch. We're still waiting for a time on Monday, I believe. Still hasn't been the TV schedule for still hasn't been announced. We're still TBD on when the Mammoth will take on the Golden Knights on Monday. But that game is coming up on Monday, and we'll have it. Of course, you can hear it here with Mike Folta on the call on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Give me a 6 p.m. puck drop. It's hard watching these late games with a newborn.
That'd be fun.
It is.
That'd be fun so then I can catch up on some sleep.
It hit 9 p.m. last night, and that's like been our bedtime for the baby, and I'm like, hey, sorry, I gotta watch this one. I gotta watch the game.
Can't miss this one.
Yeah, give me a 6 p.m. puck drop. That would be awesome.
Love it. You know what playoffs has also been fun, man? The NBA playoffs.
Oh, boy.
I know there's no Jazz in the fight, but there has still been a lot of really fun things to watch and follow along with this NBA playoffs, and so we'll cover that next. We got to take a break here on the Saturday show. When we come back, we'll jump into NBA playoffs. That on the other side. Stick with us. It's the Saturday show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Catch the NBA playoffs on Sling TV, the most flexible live TV streaming service, putting consumers in control to watch games their way with flexible subscriptions. Want to catch one game or a full series on ESPN? Grab a 1, 3, or 7-day pass. If you want to catch as many games as possible, get a monthly subscription with our ABC, NBC, and ESPN combo package. Either way, Sling lets you watch the playoffs your way with no long-term contracts. Learn more at sling.com.
Welcome back in. It's a Saturday show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Napoles, Christian Esparza, taking you through this beautiful Saturday morning as we wrap up a phenomenal week in sports. We want to keep some of that Mammoth madness going. We want to keep some of this playoff hype going. So if you were at the game last night, if you partook in any of the festivities last night on the plaza, if you let us know how you got involved. Let us know what your favorite moment was from last night's first ever home Stanley Cup playoff game for the Utah Mammoth. Let us know in the YouTube comments. Call in and give us your thoughts on the Utah Mammoth, and we'll read off some of those comments, or we'll play some call-ins here on the show and get people excited about the Mammoth.
Let us know if you rode the Zamoth.
Yeah.
I was that got announced when I was out, I think. I haven't had a chance to get my thoughts on it.
What's your thoughts on the Zamoth?
Freaking sick. Awesome. Are you serious?
It's cool, man.
I want to take a picture on it. I haven't been to see it yet, but yeah, that thing's pretty cool, man. So if you've been up there, if you've been on that thing, let us know.
Let us know. Let's jump into the NBA playoffs and talk about some stuff going on in the NBA. And Christian, what a difference it makes when the NBA, when there's, implication, when there's meaningful basketball on the line, right? I know that there's a lot of criticism online talking about the products of the NBA and how the regular season has been so diminished, and everything that people talk about and about the 82-game season and wanting to be shortened it for player safety, for people's interests. But when the NBA playoffs come around, man, it's so fun to watch and be tuned into every single game, because the players do turn it up a little bit when there is meaningful basketball on the line.
You're saying the NBA can be fun to watch?
It can be fun to watch.
That's crazy.
When the elimination's on the line.
When
and
it's
stuff like
playoffs,
that. Yeah.
But not the Oklahoma City Thunder playing.
Yeah. The Celtics and 76ers, though, last night was really fun.
Yeah.
The Celtics.
No, I think all of last night's games were great, and there's a ton of big storylines, right? The Spurs pick up a win with no Wemby. They're back up on the series 2-1. But yeah, the Celtics fighting back. They're up 2-1. But we got to talk about the biggest game from last night. Lakers going up 3-0 over the Rockets. The Rockets making the big trade for Kevin Durant last year.
With no Luka.
Right.
And with no Austin
Lakers
Reeves.
without their top two players.
Yeah.
41-year-old LeBron James leading the charge. And the Rockets make that trade for Kevin Durant. They're on the verge of being swept. They lost in the first round last year. They thought KD would be the answer, and I'd argue they've gotten worse. Remember all that drama with his burner accounts that got leaked? I kid you not, Alex. I think that was the turning point of the season for the Houston Rockets. I think from then, and I think we might have even said on the Saturday show, that was the nail in the coffin for them this season. You could look at that, and I don't know what the record has been since then, but it's pretty clear that locker room is fractured, and we know why.
And it's also interesting, KD's only played one game.
And KD's been out now.
KD's only played one game in the series.
Come on.
Played game 2 on Tuesday. Or excuse me, no, that was game 1 on Tuesday.
No, he played game 2.
Game 2, sorry.
He missed game 1 and 3.
And then had 23 points in that one, didn't play last night. But LeBron, of course, leading the charge for the Los Angeles Lakers, and Bronny leading the charge for the Los Angeles Lakers.
Listen, I sent you guys this clip, like tongue-in-cheek, but it also is actually pretty cool. All right, so we've got this highlight. I want to play it. LeBron throwing an alley-oop to Bronny in the playoffs.
Point advantage. Shepard dribbling through traffic. Takes it all the way. Missed it with the left hand. LA on the move. Up top, Bronny James from his dad.
He only played 9 minutes, but he had 5 points. He had that alley-oop layup, and then he hit a 3. So he made both of his shot attempts, 5 points, only 9 minutes to play. But what more do you want from your bench play? He's a second-round pick, playing 9 minutes in a playoff game, scoring on both of his opportunities. That's all you can ask for from a late second-round pick. Come on. And if you zoom out and take away the LeBron bias, like, it's pretty cool that you've got a 41-year-old dad throwing an alley-oop to his son in the playoff game. And I know Bronny didn't flush it down with a two-handed jam, right? It was a little kind of reverse layup little thing, but that's pretty special, man. And look, I'm not a LeBron fan, and I'm not a Lakers fan, definitely. But what the Lakers are doing in this series, they're going to get bounced by the Thunder next round. We know that. But what they're doing in this series with no Luka, no Austin Reeves. I mean,
I don't think anybody expected it.
no.
I don't
And it
think
looks
anybody
like Bron
really
still has something
anticipated
left
it.
in the tank.
Yeah. I did like the post game reaction from from this game as we were hanging out watching the final moments of the Mammoth. I was scrolling through the interwebs and seeing people react to the Lakers taking down the Houston Rockets, because there was a play that came right before the game ended, right where LeBron sneaks in from behind a player, pokes out the ball, and then the Lakers get possession. They play a ball out to LeBron. LeBron hits a massive shot to tie things up. It ends up
Crazy.
going to overtime. The Lakers end up winning that one. It seemed like the Rockets were going to they just had to hold on to the ball, man.
Yeah.
And they were going to see it out, and they were going to pull one game back in the series. It could have been 2-1. Instead, the Lakers
They were up 6 with 30 seconds left. That should be a win.
able to make it 3-0. And I did love the reaction where online. There was a tweet that I saw, and I wish I could remember who put this out there to give them the appropriate credit, but there was a tweet out there that said the Lakers won this game by 4. Bronny scores 5, and so that means that the Lakers won this game because LeBron James decided to conceive a child.
Heck yeah. That's what it's all about, man.
Love it.
Here's this stat. NBA teams were 1,713-1 when leading by 6 or more in the last 30 seconds of regulation in the playoffs. And that's across the last 29 years. They're now 1,713-2. The Rockets are the second team in 29 years to blow a 6-point lead in the final 30 seconds of regulation.
Wow.
The only other team to do that was the 2024 Knicks. But yeah, Sean, do you have that highlight of that LeBron? Let's play that, because I think that was a very special play.
There is Şengün. They will go to the backcourt, and Shepard. James is there to greet him. Second body, Hachimura, and he turns it over. Get it ahead for James. Slaps it over to Kennard. Lakers are down by 3 for the tie. It's good. LeBron James is money. 101. The Lakers create the turnover, and then they cash in from long range.
That was a play to force OT. And look, LeBron has made so many clutch plays in his entire career. I don't want to say that's one of the most clutch plays of his career, especially because they're going up 3-0 in a series, right? It's not like they needed to win that game, but 41 years old, and he's doing that, hitting the ball out, creating a play, and then hitting the clutch 3. And his stat line last night, 29 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists. He did have 8 turnovers, but he added 3 steals and a block. Like, again, 41 years old with no help. Like, he's playing with DeAndre Ayton, Marcus Smart, Luke Kennard, and Rui Hachimura.
Yeah, none of those games pop out at me as a...
I think this just speaks to how poor this Rockets team is, man.
Who would have thought, man?
Crazy.
I mean, take it back to a year ago when that Kevin Durant trade gets announced, and everybody's super incredibly high on the Rockets.
Oh, everybody was picking the Rockets to win the freaking finals.
Incredibly high on the Rockets, and how quickly the tables have turned for them. How quickly things have kind of gone in the other direction for the Rockets. Now on the brink of elimination. Will KD play Game 4? Can KD and the Rockets make some magic in Game 4 to keep the series alive, or will LeBron continue to be LeBron and carry this Lakers team without Luka, without Reeves, into the next round?
How much longer is Luka out?
That's a good question.
Probably a couple weeks. Out indefinitely as of yesterday. Still no timeline. So, yeah, Luka's not going to be back this series. If they get to round 2 against the Thunder, maybe Luka will return, but even then, I don't think it's going to matter. Some fun games tonight, though, dude. I've really been loving this Nuggets-Timberwolves series.
Oh, it's been so fun.
And there was a stat the other night. I guess over the last 4 years, these two teams have played more than any other two-team NBA, just because it seems like they always match up in the playoffs. And this is a series we've seen several times. Of course, you remember the Anthony Edwards clip of when they were down in the series and they were leaving Denver, but Anthony Edwards told the Denver custodian, "I'll see you, blank, blank."
Yeah.
For Game 7. And then they went back and won Game 7.
Yep.
This is a crazy series. I'm loving it. And Rudy dominating Jokic.
Absolutely. That blowout on, was it Thursday night?
Yeah.
Was took me a little bit by surprise, and then Minnesota, for me, this is like it for Minnesota with this team, right? If they're not able to make it past the Nuggets, and if they're not able to make some sort of a semblance of a run into the West to another Western Conference championship, I don't know what happens to this team. I don't know what happens to this roster. Maybe I think if they can't make it deep into the playoffs, they've hit their ceiling with this roster, but they're showing fight, and they're showing that they can compete with Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets, who I thought also had a really good shot of making it to a Western Conference final.
Yeah.
And it's fun to watch a guy like Ant step up in big moments. It's fun to watch Rudy Gobert step up in big moments too, honestly.
Well, the Nuggets, another team who had some big offseason acquisitions a year ago, and yeah, everybody talked about them as some of the favorites right behind OKC and Houston in the West. The Timberwolves are this weird team where they're kind of like, they're pretty good. They finished as a 6 seed, right? So they're pretty good in the regular season, but they get to playoffs, and that's when Anthony Edwards really turns it on and becomes a superstar and reminds everybody that he is probably a top 5 talent in the league. And it just feels like he's right there on the verge. One of these years, man, he's going to pop. It felt like Giannis with the Bucks a few years ago. Like they kept getting close, and you knew it was just going to happen at one point, that he'd get over the hump and get his ring that he deserves. I think that's coming with Anthony Edwards. I really get that same vibe of he's right there on the verge, and one of these years it's going to happen. And the way he just flips it in the playoffs, really one of the best playoffs players in the NBA right now.
I would agree. I don't know if they get it this year, but I would agree that Ant is on the verge, and this Timberwolves team is on the verge.
You don't think they could beat OKC?
Not this season.
Didn't they go 7 games last year?
Whether it's OKC, whether it's the Spurs, right, with a healthy Wemby, I don't know if they get that done.
And that is, of course, the other big topic of the playoffs. Wemby missed last night with the concussion, but the Spurs win
over the Trailblazers.
Yeah,
get a good win there.
2-1.
11 a.m. this morning, the Pistons take on the Magic. That series tied up at 1-1 in the Eastern Conference. Coming up at 1:30, the Thunder taking on the Suns. Thunder lead at 2-0 in that series. The Knicks and the Hawks coming up at 4. The Hawks leading it 2-1 thanks to a winner from CJ McCollum.
Did you see that clip of apparently they call Quinn Snyder Captain Jack?
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh, I'll get Sean to play that. We'll have that ready next segment. Yeah, dude. Apparently that's his nickname in the locker room. Quinn Snyder, of course, longtime Jazz coach. Apparently his nickname is Captain Jack, as in Jack Sparrow. As in he doesn't know what he's doing, but it works out in the end.
I've been a little disappointed with the Knicks. I thought that they would handle this Atlanta team easily, but not to be the case so far, as the Hawks lead 2-1.
Yeah, that's a strange one. And how about the Raptors showing some fight against Cleveland? The 4-5 matchup, that can always have some pretty fun games, right? The Raptors, I really like Scotty Barnes. Outside of that, though, not much to love about the Raptors team, in my opinion. I don't know
for the Cavs. No, and I think outside of Scotty Barnes for the Raptors, Scotty Barnes is your guy.
Yeah.
RJ Barrett's fine. He's good. But Scotty Barnes is your guy. For the Cavs, man, I think the similar feeling that I have with the Timberwolves, right? Like, this is it with this roster. This is it with this team. And if they can't get over the Raptors, what a disappointment that would be to the Cavaliers. What a disappointment that would be for Mitchell, for Harden, right? They make that big trade for Harden at the deadline to hopefully potentially make it over the hump, make it into an Eastern Conference final, and they've also been a little bit disappointing to start off the series. But Game 4 coming up tomorrow for the Cavs and the Raptors, as Cleveland does leave the series 2-1.
Well, let me put my tinfoil hat on for just a second. I think LeBron doing what he's doing right now for the Lakers is kind of ruining the Cavaliers' plans a little bit. I think when the Cavaliers traded for James Harden at the deadline, the ultimate plan was to bring LeBron back over the summer. I still don't think LeBron's going to return to LA. That's Luka's team. He's ready to take that over. I still think LeBron is going to Cleveland next year. But I do wonder if LeBron becoming Superman in this round 1 series is maybe going to change that a little bit. But I'm very confident that LeBron is going to go to Cleveland over the summer. I think that's where he's going to – I shouldn't say over the summer, but I think that's where he's going to finish his career.
Yeah. At some point he's got to finish it, right?
Yeah.
He can't he's 41. Can't keep going forever.
The infamous tweet.
Who's going to last more, Grey's Anatomy or LeBron James?
I thought Grey's Anatomy ended.
No, they're both going still.
LeBron.
They're both going still. That's I saw that tweet a really long time ago. And ever since,
like 10 years ago?
Yeah. And they're both still going. They're both still kicking
Somehow.
it. So it's great to see. We got to take a break. Technical fouls on the other side. We'll break down some of the funnier, sillier storylines of the week in our technical foul segment, as we do every Saturday. Stick with us. It is the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Catch the NBA playoffs on Sling TV, the most flexible live TV streaming service, putting consumers in control to watch games their way with flexible subscriptions. Want to catch one game or a full series on ESPN? Grab a 1, 3, or 7-day pass. If you want to catch as many games as possible, get a monthly subscription with our ABC, NBC, and ESPN combo package. Either way, Sling lets you watch the playoffs your way with no long-term contracts. Learn more at sling.com.
That's a technical foul. If you switch the radio to some modern music show, that's a technical foul. If you touch the thermostat,
You'll get hit with a bat.
'cause that's a technical foul.
You will feel my wrath.
That's a technical foul.
Personal foul, 69, offense. He was giving them the business.
A technical foul.
Welcome back to the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It is time for Technical Fouls. Here we cover the sillier, funnier, more lighthearted stories in the sports world of the week. And I feel like a pretty good place to start today, Christian, is Mike Vrabel.
Dude, this stuff happened while I was off.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was literally, we talk about this, right? Our brains are wired because of this show. We see something, and I can't wait to talk about that in technical fouls. This is crazy.
It is a crazy story. It has turned into a full-blown soap opera-esque of everything that's been coming out of the of the whole Diana Rossini and Mike Vrabel situation. Vrabel announces that he will be missing today's NFL draft, day 3, as he begins to seek counseling for everything that's come out. Rossini off of social media because of everything that's come out. The more people dig into the story, I think the crazier and crazier it gets. Because this has been going on for a while.
Oh, well, and that was the big news that came out this week was allegedly there's photos of them together since 2020.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then, people do some digging. They find out that, they've been having some sort of relationship for at least 6 years. She has a son named Mike that is only 4 years old.
That's weird.
So that's crazy. Choosing to name the kid that.
That's really odd.
That is insane.
As soon as I saw that tweet and saw that his kid had the same name as Mike Vrabel, that didn't sit well with me.
And yeah, I mean, the crazy thing about this is the ramifications of what it means, right? For Diana Rossini, she resigned from her job at the Athletic. She has since deleted her Twitter account, millions of followers. I mean, she was one of the most followed NFL insiders, right? That she had such a big platform, and now that's all gone because when you do that, you lose your journalistic integrity. And on the flip side, Mike Vrabel, yes, he's getting laughed at. Yes, he's getting clowned for, going to counseling instead of the draft today. But at the end of the day, he's still the head coach of the New England Patriots. And I think that people are kind of going to, you think of last year with all the Stephon Diggs stuff on the boat with the bag full of a pink substance.
Right.
Mike Vrabel having to get up there and tell his team to make smart choices and not choices that are going to be distractions. And then now he's doing this. That's the biggest negative for Mike Vrabel is that he's just making a distraction for the team. But at the end of the day, does that affect his ability to do his job? No, I don't. I really don't think so.
I saw a clip on social media a little bit ago when all this was beginning to break and when everything was beginning to come to light between Vrabel and Rossini, and it was a somebody who was on a desk somewhere, working, I think it was NBC Boston or something, and they essentially said that you talk about the credibility of Rossini, but what about the credibility of Mike Vrabel? Right? How can you go into a locker room with all this going on and ask your guys to be good examples, right, in the locker room, to avoid these distractions in the locker room when you as the head coach are also now in being exposed the way that you are, right? How can you go into that locker room and talk to your guys about being example human beings when you yourself have not been a human being of holding yourself to a high standard in that way?
Yeah, man, it's a crazy situation. And you look at all of the quote-unquote scandals, I guess, that the Patriots have had, and it's just a weird friend. Like, what is going on up in Boston? Like, going back to all of the cheating stuff with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady and the recordings and the deflations, and then Robert Kraft and his stuff that he's got going on. And it's like, there's a lot going on up in New England, man. And who would have thought that I don't know. It's a weird deal. So, unfortunately for Rossini, she has lost her job, and Vrabel's going to keep his. I don't think this really affects his ability to coach the team. I guess we'll see there's always going to be a letdown after you make the Super Bowl just because it's so hard to get back. You can expect them to not be back there next year. How much worse do they get? Does this scandal make the New England Patriots take a significant step backward? I don't think it will. I don't think it's going to lead to Mike Vrabel losing his job. I do think it's going to always kind of hang around him and people are always going to joke about it. But at the end of the day, man, that's just unfortunate that's the way it folds out. Like it does not affect him the way that it affects her. And it's just weird how that works. I mean,
absolutely agree.
We know why it unfolds that way, but yeah, it's a crazy story, and I can't stop consuming all of the information because all of these details just continue to get more and more juicy. And then now the funny wrinkle is that Caleb Lomu gets drafted by the New England Patriots, and we'll talk about the NFL draft next, but that was just a funny little aside of, Mike Vrabel's holding this press conference at 5:30 Mountain Time. The draft starts at 6. 2 hours later, Caleb Lomu's a New England Patriot. I think that was pretty funny.
Shout out to all the internet sleuths this week, man, for going in and finding all these, all the tweets from Rossini, finding all this information,
that's why she had to delete her Twitter.
Yeah, and continuing to scour the internets for all little, I guess, crumbles of clues that Rossini's been leaving behind the last couple of years about what may or may not be an illicit affair with Mike Vrabel.
Some of them I think are reaches.
Some of them are.
Some of them are definite reaches.
Some of them
then there are some, like naming your kid Mike. Like that's ridiculous.
Yes.
That is crazy.
That one still does. That one still does not sit well with me. That's weird.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a Mike Jr. or just like an in honor of. But either way, that's wild, bro.
It's so wild.
And that poor husband.
And then well, now there's rumors coming out about the husband, like being the one who hired these investigators in the first place.
That got refuted yesterday. Yeah,
okay. Right.
That got refuted. Yeah, I think TMZ came out and said that it was not the husband hiring a private investigator. That was the leading theory. Turns out it was just somebody at the resort in Arizona who recognized Mike Vrabel, and they didn't really recognize Diana Rossini. And so they were shopping these photos around. They sent them to TMZ. TMZ initially declined it. They sent it to the New York Post, and they only wanted 4 figures for this, which you say only 4 figures, and this has been one of the biggest news stories this year. And so I can't imagine how much money it's made the New York Post, but yeah, you should have been asking. I mean, if that person would have realized how big of a story this would be, they would have been asking for a lot more than 4 figures for these photos. So
let's stay on the topic of the NFL. We'll talk about the NFL draft. A couple of Utah players making some history for the Utah football program on day 1. No locals taken on day 2 as we begin day 3 action of the NFL draft. That's coming up next. It is the Saturday show. Stick with us. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This year, experience the NHL playoffs your way. Want to watch a single, do or die Game 7, a full week of heavy-hitting back-and-forth series? Then check out Sling's 1, 3, and 7-day passes. Watch the Chase for the Cup on ESPN and TNT, starting as low as $4.99. No long-term contracts or overpaying. Just live hockey at home or when you want it. Sling lets you do that. Visit sling.com to learn more.
Welcome back to the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Napoles, Christian Esparza, thank you for making us a part of your Saturday morning. Let's jump into the NFL Draft as a couple of Utah football players making some history for the Utah football program this year, Christian, and that is, of course, Utah offensive tackle Spencer Fano, who gets drafted 9th overall by the Cleveland Browns. You have the New England Patriots, who select Caleb Lomu with the 20th overall pick in the NFL Draft, and they become the first pair of Utes to be taken in the first round in the same NFL Draft.
Good for them, man. That is a feather in the cap for this Utah football program, and unfortunately, the offensive line coach is no longer here in Salt Lake City. Not going to name him. He's over at the Maize and Blue, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But
that's right.
No, I think it's tremendous success, right? And you see this Utah program consistently churn out first-round picks, right? And these are not going to be the last players taken in the first round, and they're definitely not the first. But to have your bookend tackles go in, I think really capitalizes what Utah football has been. And we'll see if that changes under Morgan Scalley. I don't think it will, though. But the identity has always been run the dang football. And when you got two offensive tackles going in the first round, I mean, last year's Utah team, they ended up breaking the team record, right, for rush yards in a season. I believe they broke it. I remember them. Yeah, they did break it. So, yeah, last year's football team was special.
It was special.
It really was offensively.
It was historic as far as the offensive numbers to put up on the rushing ground. And then you have, a very underrated, quietly 11-2 season for the Utes.
Yeah.
Because of everything that happened right after the season ended.
Real quick shout out to PNW Ute. He said he's going to name his first kid Saturday Show. Good luck with that. That would be cool.
I would love to see the birth certificate.
The birth certificate
on that one. No locals taken on day 2. That's not necessarily, I don't think necessarily surprising. I am waiting to see where a guy like Jack Kelly goes, if he goes, where a guy like Chase Roberts goes, if he goes. Same thing can be said about Lander Barton. Waiting for more locals to be called. So far, the only 2 locals taken in this draft is, of course, Spencer Fano and Caleb Lomu. I was a little bit surprised, I guess, in the sense that, leading up to the draft, we talked about Caleb Lomu being a number 1 round pick, or a round 1 pick in the NFL draft coming up. But a lot of people had mocked him out of the first round. A lot of people had no longer had him in their mock drafts as going in the first round. And leading up to the draft, and I thought maybe he might fall out of the second, but I think it's awesome that he does also end up going first. The Patriots end up trading up to take Caleb Lomu there in that 28th spot. The Chiefs and the Browns ended up trading. Chiefs move up to take Mansour Delane from LSU, the cornerback, with that 6th pick, and then the Browns go down to 9. They take Spencer Fano.
That sucks.
Much needed help in the offensive
line. Let me clarify. Super
yeah.
happy for Spencer Fano to be a top 10 pick. The first offensive tackle taken in the draft. Awesome. But he's going to Cleveland, really.
Yeah, tough
Cleveland.
Tough landing spot.
There's just some organizations like Cleveland, the Jets, some of these teams that you don't want to be associated with because they have a history of not being run very well.
Yeah.
But I will say Cleveland does have a history of having a good offensive line. So that does work in Spencer Fano's favor.
I'm excited to see what he's able to do in Cleveland. I'm excited to see if he's able to help out on an offensive line that I think last season wasn't necessarily as great as they wanted to be. It's just tough that it is the Cleveland Browns, and they have that reputation for being the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
But happy for Fano. Happy that he gets the opportunity now to go show off his skill set at the next level. Really happy for Lomu, and we talked a little bit about it in the last segment, but I think the Patriots is a really good destination for him, considering what the Patriots just went through, what the Patriots are coming off of. They
just went through as far as the Super Bowl.
Yes, not the Vrabel situation. I'm talking about the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that was a great season last year.
It is a fairly young team. It is a team that is you anticipate and hope the right decisions are made for them to get better and continue to build off of that success. And so, hopefully, sooner rather than later, you see Caleb Lomu making some big contributions to that New England's Patriot team.
Yeah, later in the first round, but I mean a first-round pick nonetheless. So they are going to expect him to come in and start right away.
Yeah.
They drafted a left tackle last year, top 5, I believe he was.
The one that got worked in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Campbell,
short arms Campbell. So they're expecting Lomu to probably go in and be that right tackle. We'll see how that works, or maybe they'll do some shuffling. I don't know, but at the very least, Caleb Lomu should be starting for the Patriots as well. So. We'll see. You bring up some other names like Chase Roberts, Jack Kelly. I'd love to see them drafted. We do got to bring up Chase Roberts, man. Well, we know these guys are talented because we covered them all year.
Yes.
And like the discrepancy between Jacob Rodriguez, who went in the second round yesterday, versus Jack Kelly, is there a 5-round difference between their talent? Like, obviously Rodriguez is the more talented player, but does he deserve to go in round 2 while Jack Kelly goes in round 6 or 7 or potentially undrafted? I don't think there's that big of a gap between their talents, right? But I guess Rodriguez just made more. I mean, he was the better player. He made more big plays. He was on the better team, right? But I do deserve Jack Kelly. I believe Jack Kelly deserves to be drafted. He should be off the board right now. I think Chase Roberts is a phenomenal talent. He really hurt himself at the combine. He ran an incredibly slow 40-yard dash. 4.64 for a wide receiver is really, really slow. That was by far last. He did bump that up at BYU's Pro Day. He ran a 4.51, but that 4.64 number, I think teams are really going to want to shy away from. Sucks for him, but I think he's going to get an opportunity at the very least to get some work in training camp. And when that happens, I think teams are going to realize that he obviously plays much faster than that.
Yeah. I think whoever ends up taking that chance and taking that gamble, whatever round that may be, however late that may be, for guys like Lander Barton, for guys like Kelly, for guys like Chase Roberts, whoever decides to take that gamble on them late in the later stages of that draft, I think they're getting some steals, man. I think they'll be getting some really undervalued players who can come in and with the right development, they can come in and make a difference down the road. And so whoever ends up taking those guys, those other local guys that were waiting to be called, I think they're getting some steals later on in the draft. Of course, the number 1 overall pick, no surprise, Fernando Mendoza. The Raiders get their quarterback. Fernando Mendoza will be the quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders. And I think the pick that a lot of people scratching their heads. I'm still scratching my head over it. How about the Rams selecting Ty Simpson with the number 13 pick in the NFL draft?
There were a couple picks. I think the Commanders taking an off-ball linebacker at number 7 was a really strange pick as well, but definitely the biggest, what?
Yeah.
Is the Rams taking a quarterback at number 13. Every single mock draft had them taking a receiver. Of course, we know Devontae Adams up there in age. Puka Nacua has had a ton of off-the-field stuff the past couple of months, so you don't know what the receiver room is going to look like for a team that is right there on the verge of being a Super Bowl caliber team. And with them being so good every year, and with Les Snead, we know his reputation where he likes to trade away those first-round picks. We don't know when the Rams are going to be in the position to take a quarterback this high. So that has been the reasoning for this move. I still don't know if it makes sense, but I get why they did it. I really do. I think a lot of people are really upset about this. I'm curious for your opinion, though, because you are, of course, a Rams fan. I honestly don't hate the move.
I'm still scratching my head over it because they were on the verge last season of making a Super Bowl, right? They lose to the eventual champion in the Seattle Seahawks, but they did make it to that NFC Championship game. And they were, in my opinion, they were a better backfield away from making it, and probably a wide receiver 3 from making it.
Could be.
And then you bring up the age with Devontae Adams, right? Devontae Adams isn't going to last forever. He's up there in age. He's getting towards the end of his career. You had a chance to bring in a playmaker, a difference maker, to help Matthew Stafford now, instead of having a Jordan Love situation where you're going to have a guy who's going to sit behind Matthew Stafford for a little bit.
I don't know, man. I think so. Part of the reason why this has been so controversial is Sean McVay's reaction as well, too, right?
I get why they did it. And because he's coming off an MVP season, but Matthew Stafford is also up there in age. I understand why they did it. I understand why you want to secure some semblance of a future of what life is going to be like after Matthew Stafford. But it seems like when you have the 13th overall pick, you can go out and bring in a guy who can potentially be a difference maker now, win now, and then worry about, while you have Matthew Stafford, worry about the quarterback situation a little bit later. But again, I understand why they did it. They want to be set up for when Matthew Stafford does decide to move on.
Well, you remember a year ago when people thought Matt Stafford wasn't going to play because of his back? So I think that's part of it too, right? Because his age and his health, we know he only has a year or two left in the tank. I think when the Packers drafted Jordan Love, they expected Aaron Rodgers to be towards the end of his career, but Aaron Rodgers had not, up to that point, given them any reason to believe that, right? Mm-hmm. Matthew Stafford is giving us reason to believe that he's on the way out.
Every offseason, it's the same thing. Is Matthew Stafford going to retire this season?
And it's true.
Is this it for Matthew Stafford?
I don't see him playing.
And then he goes and he has an MVP season.
I would think that if they win the Super Bowl, he walks off into the sunset, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And I think the Rams' reasoning is, if you don't take your quarterback of the future now, when are you going to get him? Because they want to try and be a playoff team every year. Okay, you're not going to take a quarterback of the future if you're picking in the late 20s. The only reason they're picking this high, remember, is because of a really good trade they made with the Falcons. And even then, they weren't expecting it to be a top 15 pick. Now, I do think they shouldn't have taken Ty Simpson at 13. They probably could have traded down and maybe taken him in the late teens or early 20s. Beside the point, though.
I think that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Beside the point, you got to recognize how important it is for you to have your quarterback in the NFL. You either have one or you don't. And if you have a guy that you think can be the guy for the next 10 years, even if he sits for a year or two, you got to go get him. This is a quarterback who only played 15 games last year. He's really raw. He could really use the experience to sit and learn from Matthew Stafford for a season or maybe even two. I don't think that there would be any controversy there if Matthew Stafford sticks around for 2 additional seasons, right? But if it all works out, they're going to look like the smartest team ever. Because you remember the Chiefs drafted Patrick Mahomes when they were a playoff team with Alex Smith. And Alex Smith took them to the playoffs, Patrick Mahomes' rookie year. And he didn't play at all. And then year 2, he comes in and wins MVP. Do you expect that from Ty Simpson? No. Of course not. But you give this young raw quarterback the opportunity to sit and learn the offense, learn the system, and be the guy. And maybe it blows up in their face like a J.J. McCarthy did for Minnesota. And then you have to pivot off of that. But I like the aggressiveness of trying to set yourself up for future success because quarterback is the most important position to any football team. So they got to go get it.
I think it brings even more... it brings the question into even more scrutiny, right? And it brings the choice into even more scrutiny because of the reaction that you saw from Sean McVay. The clips have gone viral. People ask him what his conversation was with Ty Simpson after getting picked, and he says, "We'll keep that between us."
Yeah, and
then moves on.
So it's clear that they were not on the same page. I don't think.
But then he comes back tomorrow, or yesterday, excuse me. He comes back the day after, which Sean McVay is like, "No, me and Les need to. We're locked in. We're on the same.
Of course,
we're on the same page.
He's not going to tell everybody that they're
trying
not.
to mitigate the fire, but the video shows something.
Yeah,
very different.
And I understand why he'd be upset because he's focused on win now, right?
Well, how many times did we hear about Sean McVay stepping away?
Every year.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you want to please him. You want to make sure that you don't make him upset. But that is another, every single year. I mean, I remember it was always Aaron Donald's going to retire. Sean McVay is going to walk away. And somehow they convinced McVay to walk around. Maybe this is the move that convinces McVay to take a TV job. I don't know. But we'll see. I do like McVay a lot. We'll see how this turns out.
I just think Sean McVay is the last person in that locker room that you want to have upset.
Yeah, and Alabama quarterbacks haven't done really great in the NFL.
Yeah, that too. I completely forget that Ty Simpson came from Alabama.
Yeah.
And then you have guys from Alabama like Bryce Young, who starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers, and there's still question on whether or not he can be a difference maker,
great.
whether he can be good in the NFL. I mean, you're in a situation where Jalen Hurts won a Super Bowl not too long ago, 2 years ago, right? 2 years.
I don't count him. He went to Alabama, but I don't count. He was drafted out of Oklahoma.
How much is he scrutinized?
Yeah, he's not that good
You
either.
know?
They won the Super Bowl because of other players, not him.
How much is he scrutinized for his inability to be other than a running quarterback?
Yeah, I don't like Jalen Hurts. Speaking of the Eagles, though, one of my favorite draft moments. I want to play this audio. This was pretty crazy. USC receiver Mekhi Lemon. He was one of the top receiver prospects in the draft. He was on the phone with the GM of the Steelers. You'll hear it. He was going to get picked by the Steelers at pick 21. The Eagles make a trade for pick 20 and draft him while he's on the phone with a different team. This is what that sounded like.
Come on, man. Let's go. Let's go. Hey, why Philly color? Yeah.
Oh, Philly just traded for you.
Hello?
This is Philly. They just traded for you. Philly's taking you right now.
So it's a little chaotic hearing the audio only, but he's on the phone with Steelers GM Omar Khan.
Yeah.
Steelers GM says, hey, this is Omar Khan with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then there's a cut, right? Some editing. And he says, wait, why is Philly calling me? And his agent runs up to him with a different phone. He says, this is Philly on the phone. Philly just traded for you. And he literally takes the phone that has Omar Khan on it and gives him the phone with the Eagles, Howie Roseman. I can't imagine what that would be like.
What a whirlwind.
Thinking that you're going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler and then you're drafted by a different team. Like, that's so crazy.
I'm sure for Lemon, either way, he's fine just being drafted.
Yeah, he's happy to be drafted, right?
He's happy to be drafted. And to be quite frank, I think you're ending up in a better situation in Philadelphia than you are with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I don't know, man. The Eagles have had so much drama last year.
Yeah, but you at least know who your quarterback is.
For now.
You have Jalen.
Who knows how much longer Jalen
Hurts
Hurts is going to stick around?
People still haven't heard anything from Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, and that's true.
And anytime he shows up on the Pat McAfee show, he just wants to talk about everything else but whether or not he's going to play.
Okay, that's a fair point. This season, yes, the Eagles are probably a better opportunity. But
plus, you have the lingering stuff of A.J. Brown, whether or not A.J. Brown will be drafted to the New England Patriots once the league season starts up and whatnot. I do think they move on from him due to the fact that they've picked up so many wide receivers this offseason, whether it's free agency, whether it's a couple of trades.
Oh, they're definitely trading him.
And so Mekhi Lemon has an opening there to step up with the other Alabama wide receiver that they have.
Devontae Smith,
thank you. Him and Mekhi Lemon will be battling out to see who their new number one is going to be. And that's I think that's a good situation to be in.
That is a good. I mean, look, I'm sitting here talking about Jalen Hurts. That's a playoff team. They won a Super Bowl 2 years ago. You're right. It's a much better situation. So yeah, good for Mekhi Lemon, I guess.
I do think it's funny though that he does have the phone and he's on with the general manager of the Steelers, only to be quickly.
How much smoke was there connecting Ty Simpson to the Cardinals at the end of the first round, and then boom, all of a sudden he goes to the Rams in the middle of the first round. Like, imagine how many of these players think that they're going to one team and then they end up going to another team. Because sometimes teams do that. Sometimes teams will make a surprise pick. The Broncos drafted Paxton Lynch without ever talking to him. Like, they'll just make a surprise pick out of nowhere. It's
called lying season, Christian.
I know, exactly.
Smoke screens, misdirections, saying you don't rate a player like Ty Simpson, and then you end up drafting Ty Simpson. Anyway.
It happens.
It happens all the time. A couple other picks that sent out to me from that first round. Of course, you have Jeremiah Love going 3rd overall to the Cardinals. They need a running back. They absolutely needed some help in that running back room, and I think taking a running back at 3rd overall was very interesting considering the last couple of drafts. Maybe outside from Ashton Genty last season. Besides that, it seemed like the running back had been undervalued a little bit, and now you're seeing guys like Genty, guys like Jeremiah Love out of Notre Dame who are now, again, being touted as first-round picks.
There was a list of running backs taken either top 5 or top 10, but between 2018 and 2023, there were no running backs taken. I think it was top 5. The last one was like Leonard Fournette and then Bijan Robinson. In between that, it was Saquon Barkley and then Bijan Robinson.
Yeah.
And between those 2 drafts, there were not running backs taken in the top 10. And now 2 years back to back, as you mentioned, with Ashton Genty and Jeremiah Love, teams are bucking that trend. But now Jeremiah Love comes in on one of the most, because of where he was drafted at, he's automatically one of the most expensive running backs in the NFL, and he hasn't had a single carry. So when you draft a player that high, you are expecting, the Christian McCaffrey level of production, not some other guy who can come in and give you 1,000 yards just like anybody else.
Yeah.
Because that seems to be pretty easy to do for most teams, is have 1,000-yard rusher. But taking somebody that high, I think, is a big risk, especially for the Cardinals. You have so many other holes. What's a running back going to do for you? And by the time the rest of your team is good enough to compete, this running back's going to be past his prime.
I wonder if taking a running back so high for the Cardinals plays into the fact that the quarterback position this year was relatively weak.
In the draft?
In the draft, yeah. Yeah,
it definitely could be.
Because, quite frankly, you need a quarterback if you're the Arizona Cardinals. They do end up taking Carson Beck with the first pick of the 3rd round, right? They end up taking the quarterback out of Miami, but because of how weak I think people viewed this quarterback class, to maybe take a gamble on that running back, and now you can potentially down the road have a Carson Beck and Jeremiah Love look, but I don't know how successful that would be.
And honestly, I mean, their offense was not bad last year. Jacoby Brissett stepped in after they kind of benched Kyler Murray, right? And they drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. a few years ago. He hasn't quite met expectations, but he's going into his 3rd year, and that's when you traditionally see the 3rd-year breakout, obviously, for receivers. And then Michael Wilson really stepped up last year. So now you got 2 receivers, a decent quarterback, and if you can have a running back, they've still got James Conner coming off of injury. They signed Tyler Algier in the offseason, so... And that's a whole other conversation. Why would you sign Tyler Algier if you're going to draft a running back 3rd overall?
I completely forgot to factor in the Tyler Algier situation because they did sign him. So they do have They've
got so many running backs now.
They do have some running back depth now. And so, for again, Jeremiah Love going 3rd. I mean, good for him.
I guess.
But it was such an interesting pick from the Arizona Cardinals. Christian, I can sit with you here and talk about the NFL draft probably for the next 4 hours and talk about everything happening, but we do have to take a break. Still waiting for more locals to go in this NFL draft. Still no BYU players taken. Still waiting for any more locals to be taken as we sit here and we have the NFL draft pulled up on the TV. We'll take a break. On the other side, we'll talk some Utah Jazz. They won the coin flip earlier this week, and some Summer League stuff announced. We'll talk about that on the other side when we return here on the Saturday Show. It is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Catch the NBA playoffs on Sling TV, the most flexible live TV streaming service, putting consumers in control to watch games their way with flexible subscriptions. Want to catch one game or a full series on ESPN? Grab a 1, 3, or 7-day pass. If you want to catch as many games as possible, get a monthly subscription with our ABC, NBC, and ESPN combo package. Either way, Sling lets you watch the playoffs your way with no long-term contracts. Learn more at sling.com.
Welcome back to the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Napoles and Christian Esparza taking you through this beautiful Saturday morning as we recap the weekend sports here in the state of Utah. Real quick, want to give a quick shout out to the 57th overall pick of the NFL Draft. The first ever inaugural Mr. 57 gets a lifetime supply of Heinz ketchup for being the 57th overall pick.
Did you see his quote?
What was his quote?
They asked him about it. So they're doing, inaugural, right? First time that Heinz is doing this, giving the 57th overall pick a lifetime supply of ketchup. He didn't know about the incentive until he was drafted. He said, I'll love it. I'll take as much as I can get. Let's go ketchup. Heck yeah.
Great marketing ploy from Heinz. having a Mr. 57, the inaugural one, and then he just says, "Let's go ketchup." Love it.
And I'm Googling why they are associated with 57. Of course, they have the Heinz 57 sauce, but lucky numbers. Mr. Heinz, his lucky number is 5, and 7 is his wife's, apparently.
There you go.
So it's just a marketing thing. Okay.
For the Utah Jazz, man, let's talk about the Jazz and them winning that coin flip tiebreaker over Sacramento. And it's massive because now that implies that the Utah Jazz cannot convey to the Oklahoma City Thunder. The tanking pays off, Christian. They go through and they'll keep that protected top 8 pick with the 4th worst record in the NBA. And now we just hope for May 10th that the Jazz can have some sort of lottery luck.
Yeah, and that's kind of obviously it's best case scenario that the Jazz are keeping this pick. But we had Austin Ainge on Jake and Ben earlier this week, and they asked him about it. And basically he admitted that it's a huge sigh of relief because he said, you know, even if you lose that tiebreaker to the Kings and you're the 5th worst team, there's a 0.6% chance or whatever. And he said 0.6% things happen.
Yes.
Even if it's really rare, they happen. So to have it guaranteed that you are keeping your pick, that's kind of a nice storybook ending to this tanking chapter for the Jazz, right? Now you can walk away from it. May 10th, you're going to see exactly where you're drafting. The draft is going to come in June, and you're going to take a player. And then by the time the team rolls around for Summer League, which we'll get to in a second, in training camp, it's all systems go, Alex, and you're trying to push for the playoffs now. And this team, this Jazz team, I mean, if you think that the Mammoth hockey is fun right now in Salt Lake City,
yeah, man.
Just wait until the Utah Jazz are back in the playoffs because I promise you, this is it's a dormant kind of hibernating bear, right? Once that thing is up, man, he's going to be roaring. So it was a big day for the Jazz, and I think a lot of people kind of brushed it over, but guaranteeing that you keep this pick, because how disappointing would it have been if you go through this terrible season again and then boom.
Yeah, I kind of feel I feel the sigh of relief from Austin Ainge.
Yeah,
because it is a 0.6, but like that's not 0.
No, it's not.
Right? It's not out of the realm of possibility. And you've seen crazy things happen in the draft lottery recently, right? We even go back to last season where you have a team who. In the Dallas Mavericks, who had a 1 point something, whatever it was, % chance of getting the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
And that 1 point something chance ended up being the number 1 pick in Cooper Flagg.
It's crazy. So real quick, I'm not going to go through the percentages of, every single draft slot. They do have a 45% chance of a top 4 pick. They have an 11.5% chance at the number 1 overall pick. The most likely draft slot, their slot with the highest odds, is the 6th overall pick. So you remember last year, even though they were the worst record, the highest likelihood
14% on a 1
was dropping the 5th.
Yeah.
That was the single pick with the most likely outcome, right?
Yep.
Was dropping the 5 last year. This year it's dropping the 6. So even at 6 or 7 or 8, this draft is loaded. The Jazz are going to get a really good player. You're getting a franchise cornerstone if you're drafting in the top 3. You are getting a player with all-star potential if you're drafting 4 or 5. And then if you're drafting in that 6 through 8 spot, you're probably still getting a really high-end caliber player. So either way, I mean, not only do the Jazz not have to convey the pick to the Thunder, but they are going to be adding a really good player. Maybe not as good as Ace Bailey with as high of a ceiling, but somebody that can come in and be kind of a running mate next to Ace Bailey for the next 10 to 15 years.
And ultimately, this isn't a draft you want to miss out on.
No.
This is not. This is a really deep draft. You can find a really good difference maker, even if you do end up with the 6th pick. I know it's not going to be as flashy or as amazing as going 1 or going 2 or going 3 with the potential that you have there with the top 3 picks, but you can even go down to 7, 8, or 9 and still find a solid player who can come in, grow a little bit, and help be a difference maker on this Utah Jazz team going down into the future. This isn't a draft where you want to miss out and convey that pick and lose that pick to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now you don't have to worry about it come May 10th.
And the Jazz are in a really interesting scenario in which their starting lineup is already set for next season, essentially. Assuming that they bring back Walker Kessler, right? Your starting five presumably is going to be Keontae George, Ace Bailey, Lauri Markkanen, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Walker Kessler. So there's basically no pressure on this pick to come in and feel like they need to be good right away. Kind of similar to the way they developed Ace Bailey this year. They really did not force feed him the ball. If they really wanted to, they could have given Ace Bailey 15 to 20 shots a game from day one and said, look, you're going to make the all-rookie first team because that's all we care about. But we know that Will Hardy cares about the long-term development, what's best for Ace Bailey. So they took him along slowly, and look at how much better he was over the last 2 months compared to the first 2 months. That's the luxury that they're going to have with this next player they bring in, is they are not going to feel like they need to give him the ball constantly and show everybody that they got such a good player. They're going to be able to bring him along slowly and develop him and make sure that he's comfortable with this team and know his role. Because, frankly, it's a lot different bringing in a young player onto a playoff team than onto a rebuilding team. And that's where the Jazz are now. They are a playoff team.
They're going to be pushing for the playoffs. They need to get better defensively.
Yeah.
Before we can say that they're going to be true contenders in the Western Conference. There's still a lot of things, and that's something that they harped on a lot during the end of season availabilities. Right, is how much better that team needs to be defensively. How much better guys like Keontae George need to step up defensively. How much better just the overall defending of the Utah Jazz needs to be. But they do, but I think everybody's expecting them to make the playoffs next season. And I think as far as Jazz fans go, I know they shied away from it too. It shied away from the expectation, but under-deliver, overperform.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people will end up being happy here in the city of Utah.
Oh, I can't wait, dude. It's going to be a long summer, I think. I mean, from June whatever, when that draft pick is announced, to the start of Summer League, I think it's going to be such a long, excruciating, not Summer League, training camp and like the preseason games. There's going to be so much anticipation.
Speaking of Summer League.
Yes.
Summer League's back. The Salt Lake Summer League is back. It was announced earlier this week that the Jazz will compete against the Hawks, the Grizzlies, and the OKC Thunder on July 4th, 6th, and 7th at the John M. Huntsman Center up at the University of Utah. Salt Lake Summer League is back. And so whoever the Jazz do decide to take wherever they end up, right, as far as the lottery goes, you'll probably see them debut and play a little bit at the Summer League.
Well, and the fun thing about this Summer League schedule is you look at some of the other teams that are going to be coming to town, right? And how many of these teams are going to be bringing in some of those other top draft picks, right? You look at, the Grizzlies. It's always fun to see the Thunder in town. The Hawks, we'll see where they end up picking, right?
The Quinn Snyder time.
Yeah, if he's still there. I don't know. We'll
there.
see.
Yeah.
What do you think about them playing on the 4th of July?
Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
I'm not a big holiday. I mean,
you don't celebrate the 4th of July?
I celebrate the 4th.
Alex,
I'm not a big firework guy.
It's the big 250.
I know it's the big 250, but I'm not a big firework guy, and so it's all the same to me. I'll go out and have like a barbecue and hot dogs and some burgers or whatever my parents decide to make for the 4th or whatever my family decides to make for the 4th of July. But as far as the fireworks celebration goes, I don't necessarily partake.
The Memphis Grizzlies have the 6th worst record, or 6th best lottery odds, however you want to word that. The Atlanta Hawks own the New Orleans pick, and that is the 7th worst record. So there's a decent chance that one of those teams is picking top 5, and that player will be coming to Utah. What if one of those teams lands A.J. Debonsa, huh? What if the Jazz land A.J. Debonsa? Who declared officially for the draft?
Imagine that. Imagine A.J. Debonsa coming back to Utah in the Salt Lake Summer League, but not with the Utah Jazz. With whoever, whoever ends
with Memphis.
That'd be wild.
Oh,
man.
It's gonna happen because the Jazz traded for Jaren Jackson Jr. That's like the. It's like the conspiracy that the Mavericks
going back
traded.
To the Pelicans. AD.
No, well, the Mavericks traded Luka to the Lakers, and then the Mavericks get the number 1 pick.
That's another example.
The Grizzlies trade Jaren Jackson Jr. to the Jazz. The Grizzlies are going to win the lottery and get A.J. Debonsa.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. Clip that, Sean. We're going to have that saved.
Same thing happened when AD went to the Lakers.
Yes.
AD gets traded to the Lakers, and then they get Zion next season.
And, of course, the Summer League's going to be at the Huntsman Center again this year because of the renovations at the Delta Center, Phase 2 of 3 phases. So the Delta Center is going to be closed all
I do
summer.
tune in and watch the Summer League, mostly just because I'm like, at that point, come July, like I am depraved of basketball, and I just need to watch some hoops.
Yeah, that's exactly what Summer League's for.
It might not be like the most exhilarating, the most thrilling basketball you've ever seen, but it is fun to just tap in and watch some basketball. You know, when you're in the middle of summer and there's nothing else really going on.
Kyle Filipowski, Summer League MVP.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Gary's asking on YouTube if we think the Jazz will get a Christmas Day game or an NBA All-Star game in Utah. I don't think they'll be getting the All-Star game for a while. I don't think they'll be getting a Christmas Day game quite yet, but give it another couple years. Maybe Christmas Day 2028 they'll be playing. I think they've got to take a year to establish themselves as a playoff team, and then they'll be getting Christmas Day games again.
Clip that too, Sean. We're gonna keep
you don't think so?
We're gonna keep that in the vault for when Christian's right. No. I'm saying
when
for
I'm
when
right.
you're right. Yeah.
Okay.
Just so we can say that on April 25th of 2026.
What do you think?
Christian Esparza was hit. I think eventually that they'll get some national games on TV like that. But the first they have to show that they are at that level, right?
Make the playoffs, make some noise.
That's what this next season's all about for the Utah Jazz. It's showing that I don't know if the Jazz. Obviously, there's still a lot to happen, right? There's still a lot of things that can happen as far as roster construction goes this summer. There's still a lot of things that are going to happen as far as who they're going to bring in and who they're going to keep around on a competing Utah Jazz team, right? There's still so many questions of that nature that need to be answered. There's still the big lingering question of Walker Kessler and whether or not he's going to stay and whether or not they can work out that contract extension. I think everybody has their eggs in the Walker Kessler basket right now, but does Walker Kessler have his eggs in the Jazz basket?
I think he has his eggs in the basket of whoever's going to pay him the most money.
Right.
Which, luckily for the Jazz, they are going to have the opportunity to, because even if another team extends an offer, the Jazz get the chance to match it. The question is another team going to do kind of the poison pill thing where they just offer Walker Kessler an absolutely absurd amount of money, knowing that the Jazz need him. He is essential to their team next year, but it would be there's a number where it's debilitating if you're paying Walker Kessler that much. But there's a number where it's comfortable to be paying him that much, and I think the Jazz know where that is.
All this to say, there is still a lot of really important offseason decisions that the Jazz need to make, and it starts with Walker Kessler, and it starts with how this roster is going to look, and then obviously next season they have to prove to the league, and they have to prove to and send a message to the league and say, now we're here to compete. And I like how you put it a little bit earlier, saying essentially a sleeping giant in Salt Lake.
Yes, sir.
I like it.
Can't wait.
Great way to look at it. We got to take a break. We'll wrap things up on the other side here on the Saturday show. It is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This year, experience the NHL playoffs your way. Want to watch a single, do or die Game 7, a full week of heavy-hitting back-and-forth series? Then check out Sling's 1, 3, and 7-day passes. Watch the chase for the cup on ESPN and TNT, starting as low as $4.99. No long-term contracts or overpaying. Just live hockey at home or when you want it. Sling lets you do that. Visit sling.com to learn more.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. That's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
Welcome back. It's the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Napoles, Christian Esparza. Final segment of the day as we wrap things up. Christian, did you catch Lionel Messi in town on Wednesday?
I did not. I don't have Apple TV Plus.
Bummer.
My brother was at the game, though.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
How do you like it?
Said it was crazy.
It was crazy.
Yeah. I was listening to you on the pre-half and post, actually, though. So
it was, I was out there. And
okay, I listened to the game.
Yeah.
While I was doing some errands. I didn't watch.
That counts. That's part
there
of
was a
that's
goal
part
that
of
was
the-
taken away because of an offsides.
Yeah, man.
And it feels like that's when the tide really, really turned.
That was within the first 5-6 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
And Real Salt Lake were attacking and had the better chances.
Yes.
And there was a header that went just wide too, like inches away from going in.
Yes. Yes.
Literally right before that too. And so Real
DJ
Salt
went crazy.
Yeah, man. Real Salt Lake started really hot, and then after that
After the goal got taken off,
yeah,
they were kind of like, "Oh, that was our chance."
Yeah, it kind of turned into a little bit of a defensive battle for RSL of just trying to hold Lionel Messi off the ball, and then
they kept him from scoring.
Late in the game, man, they ended up giving up 2 goals within quick succession, and then fall 2-0 at home. But I think it is for RSL. I think for RSL players, it is a very frustrating performance. But for a lot of them, seem a little starstruck with Messi.
Well,
in town.
and you definitely remember when they opened at Inter Miami a couple of years ago. That was the same vibe. Like all of those guys, and that's part of the Messi effect. Is it's not just Real Salt Lake. Like all of these MLS teams are going to be starstruck when they play against Lionel Messi. So you got to get to a point where
you factor in the youth.
Yeah,
right? And there's a lot of young guys on that team that, are having this experience for the first time in their careers.
Yes, especially because of the way that RSL builds their team. Not every MLS team does it the way that RSL does, where they rely so heavily on their farm system.
Mm-hmm.
That means there's a lot of teenagers and early 20-year-olds on this team that, they talk about Lionel Messi like he's Thanos.
Yeah.
And he kind of is, but...
Had him on his wall, on their wall growing up.
Yeah,
you know?
literally.
Like, idolize this guy growing up because he is one of the greatest of all time, and now you're playing against him.
But what a fun day, man. For, as you mentioned, like such a crazy week here in Salt Lake City, and that was definitely one of the highlights, was welcoming Lionel Messi to town. John Kimball, president of operations for RSL, made some appearances on the station and talked about kind of what it means for Real Salt Lake and how big this day was. It's the biggest day of the season so far.
I pulled up to the stadium at 4:30.
Yes.
And
a lot of pink.
I'd never seen that, like hundreds of people lined up at the bus gate waiting for Messi's bus to pull up. Like usually there's nobody at the stadium at 4:30, and you can stroll in and walk with no problems. And then this time Messi Mania took over, and there was hundreds of people lined up at the bus waiting for him to pull up. It was insane. It was insane. I'd never seen that many people in the stands too for warm-ups. Like usually usually the stadium's like pretty quiet. Usually the stadium is like really still relatively empty when the players come out to start warming up. And then this time, like everybody was in their seats.
It's a frenzy.
It really was. And it was also fun to hear more. It was fun to hear more boos as Messi came out than cheers.
People booed him?
Oh yeah.
I'm shocked.
RSL fans were booing.
I didn't know that.
I'm sure there was RSL fans there cheering him on too, as well. But like there was a very audible boo when he took the field.
You know what? That's cool because you got to give credit to Real Salt Lake fans for showing up there to watch their team, not watch some guy.
Even though it is Messi.
Yeah,
it was absolutely phenomenal night. Even though Real Salt Lake fall 2-0 here at home. It was still great to be able to welcome in Lionel Messi to your backyard and see him play with the Wasatch Mountains in the background. That Beautiful. Was a special moment for everybody at the stadium on Wednesday night. Real Salt Lake back in action tomorrow, taking on the LA Galaxy. Pre-game starting up at 4. You can catch that here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Today's schedule looks like this. The Salt Lake Bees taking on the Las Vegas Aviators, 7:50 pre-game on 97.5 and 1280. One of the more quieter Saturdays we've had on the station, Christian.
Just the Bees game.
Just the Bees game. No other events going on tonight, but tomorrow is jam-packed. You have the Bees starting up at 12:50. You can catch that on both signals. Real Salt Lake again starting up at 4 on 97.5, and then the Royals taking on the Rain pregame at 5:30 on 1280 a.m. Christian, welcome back, man. It's great to have you back and be able to chat sports.
Oh, man, I'm so excited to be back, and I can't wait to talk about more playoff hockey next week. Game time still has not been announced, by the way, for Monday night's game, but Game 4 here in Salt Lake City, that's going to be fun, and then they go back to Vegas next week. We'll see if the series is over a week from now or if we'll be having a Game 7.
I hope that we're sitting here talking about a Mammoth moving on next week.
I hope so too, man.
That'd be fun.
It's been a lot of fun so far.
To capitalize and keep talking about on the Mammoth madness that's taken over Salt Lake. It's fun watching this team. It's fun watching hockey, and I'm very excited and very very excited to we get to be a part of it and get to watch this team grow right in front of our eyes. Big shout out to Sean Croshaw behind the glass, pushing the buttons, making the magic happen here today. Make sure to tune in all week as we break down everything that happens with the NHL playoffs this week and everything that happens with the NBA playoffs. You can catch all your favorite breakdowns on DJ and PK, on Scotty G and the Coach, and on Jake and Ben here on 97.5 The KSL Sports. So it is the Saturday show, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Catch the NBA playoffs on Sling TV, the most flexible live TV streaming service, putting consumers in control to watch games their way with flexible subscriptions. Want to catch one game or a full series on ESPN? Grab a 1, 3, or 7-day pass. If you want to catch as many games as possible, get a monthly subscription with our ABC, NBC, and ESPN combo package. Either way, Sling lets you watch the playoffs your way with no long-term contracts. Learn more at sling.com.